Good afternoon and welcome to a rather overcast day in the South Lakes. And yes, this is the new MG3. Now when this first launched, I think it was around 2013, the biggest gripe was not enough power. Well, this has it in buckets. It's even more efficient. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. Now I've driven a number of MG3s and I found them, well, a really captivating car. They had great driving dynamics, they had heavy weighted hydraulic steering and a ride height that, well, essentially made them look lowered. The way they handle on a back road, well, reminded me of my hot hatch years. The only thing that lacked was the powertrain. Now, because I'm from an era of redlining motors, it didn't bother me. But most people nowadays are used to either a turbo, or even more so, an electric motor. And it just didn't have that oomph. The other thing that it did not have was economy. I mean, it was great fun, but it guzzled like a GTI. And people cried out for turbos for years. But MG thought, I think we can go one better. Introducing the Hybrid Plus. Efficient, 70 to the gallon. It claims 0 to 60 in 8. But no, it's far quicker. It pulls like a train. Now you're looking at this and thinking, it's just a facelift. No, it's a completely new car on a new platform. I mean, it does resemble MG3. You've got to appeal to your previous audience. But now you've given them something they've been crying out for. Massive efficiency and power. It's an immense fun, especially when you nail that accelerator. It doesn't quite drive the way the previous one did. It's a lot more, I suppose you'd call it family orientated. Electronic power steering, and its suspension isn't quite as firm. But you'll be glad to know it's still chuckable on a back lane. Superminis, not the kind of thing you do a road trip in. We took this all the way to Goodwood. Annabelle and I had a complete blast. We covered, I think it was around 900 miles, and it didn't skip a beat. I mean, we started off dropping off a Tesla in Manchester and then jumping into this. And it was all about MG this year. Even the Monument was an MGB and a Cyberster. It was massively memorable. They also unveiled the brand new HS. So if you want to see that, I'll leave a link at the end of the video. If you remember what an MG3 was like, full of lots of hard plastics, it was well built, but it wasn't what you'd call finessed. This is. Now there's two trims, SE and the trophy that we've got. Starts at 18,500 and ours retails for just over 21. And the thing is, you don't have to go for the hybrid. You can get the previous gen. And that's something like £14,335. So it's got a completely new 1.5 four-cylinder non-turbocharged engine coupled to an electric motor. And I think that's about 100 kilowatts. And then a smallish battery, something like 1.87 kilowatt hours. And like HS5, you don't need to do anything. The vehicle just sorts itself out. And when we were travelling in pure electric mode, I think we got up to about 55 miles an hour. Now, dependent on how much you put your foot down, then it can choose either to use the electric motor, or it can use the petrol engine, or it can combine them both. It manages to be able to charge itself while it's driving, coasting, or braking. I think it's 5 modes in all. And the whole ensemble just works seamlessly. I mean, you'll have to drive it to see what I mean. Because it's on a new platform, when you get inside, you'll see it's a far roomier cabin. It's even got a bigger boot. I think the build quality's gone up a notch too. And you've got comfortable buckety seats, to the point that we were sat in them on and off for 9.5 hours. I just got out feeling relaxed, fresh. You don't expect that in a Supermini. No, MG have really lifted the bar on this one. As it's a completely new car, it's full of safety and tech that you find on MG4. So you've got things like MG Pilot and even iSmart app integration. This ticks so many boxes. What I'd like to see is, I suppose, the equivalent of an X-Power. The whole car has I suppose it's a real slope towards the front, whereas the previous one was more angular. Now we've established that it looks pretty much like the old version, but it's also got a fresh new look. And things like automatic LED lights with high beam assist. No fogs. But unlike MG3 of old, it doesn't need them. The beam on this is excellent. Mitigation systems and cameras. Now the styling, I'd call it, I suppose, more cutesy than the original. It's definitely less angular and you've got more curvature. The sweeping lights and this semi-clamshell bonnet that follows the flow with the nose cone and a big prominent MG badge. And I think this cosmic silver works extremely well with the black accents. Especially this, it's almost like a carbon splitter. It looks, I suppose, a bit MG4 in that way. Thing is, that fits so well with MG's design ethos. I love these like air intake vents here, especially the shaping and the sculpture around the front bumper. And you're like, nah, look at it, it's just stuck on. Not here. This allows actual airflow. Thing is, you want your hybrid to be efficient, making it, in Annabelle's words, functional and fashionable. I like that. It's such a clean look, almost like sharp cuts here. No black plastic trims. It's rather smart, especially with the diamond cut alloys. 16 inch, so not the biggest in the world, but a decent profile tyre. And to be honest, they don't look out of place. Decent ride height, so you can get off the beaten track. And yes, there is no all-wheel drive system, well, at least not yet. But even if you are a bit undecided on the looks, drive it and then come back to me. Now time to address the elephant in the room. There's no sunroof. Does it need one? Not really, but it'd be nice. Power folding mirrors with the indicator and a camera and colour coded. Very nice. Let's take a look inside. Keyless entry and colour coded door handle. The door opens nice and wide, and yes, you're met with hard plastics. It would have been nice to see this embellished somehow. You've got a padded area and some nice sporty stitching, plus a decent door pocket. Climbing in, even at 6'3", I have to duck my head a little bit, but for a city car, Supermini, whatever you want to call it, it's remarkably easy. And then the roof juts up anyway. And I've got height adjustment in my seat, so that's perfect. Now the facelift did bring some more changes to it, but nothing to this level. This is more like the SUVs, and this is responsive and has proper buttons. No rotaries. It is sad to see the circular vents go. They were always a symbol of MG, but you can see why they have. This has such a great flow to it, with checkers. Very cool. Big center console, cup holders, and just what a great driving position. Down here you can adjust your mirrors and you can unlock and lock your car. And yes, we can adjust our headlamp height. I wonder if that means it'll tow. And releases for the bonnet and the petrol cap. Solid build quality. And that's it, it's throughout. Even this center console, I'm rocking the car. Yes, we recognise this. Very easy to operate. Now it would have been nice to see some padding on here. This is all spongy. And up here, you've got enough interesting materials like this. It's a great grade of plastic. It is hard, but where do you draw the line with a car that starts at what, 18,500 or thereabouts? Leather wrapped steering wheel, decent size, and yes, perfect for a back lane. So you've got eco, normal and sport. Full of lots of functionality. You've got USBs here, 12 volt, 2 decent cup holders, and this pulls out. And there's 3 points where you can have it. Push button start and a very, very clear cluster. So yeah, essentially the MG4 one. Easy to see when you're putting charge in, your speedo, you've got your fuel computer with things like your tyre pressures, and you can see your economy, efficiency, and what the powertrain's doing. This, great. That's the one thing you probably remember if you have had an MG3. It was, well, I don't think the first ones even had screens. Responsive, easy to use, and well, full of functionality. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, navigation, and obviously things like MG Pilot. Proper buttons for operations, so your fans, demisters, even proper volume buttons, and a home button. Essential. On the steering wheel, this is where I did get a little confused. For example, it says press OK to reset, and for love nor money, can I find an OK button? No. One thing to note, whenever you start the vehicle, it's in normal mode. This button on the right hand side allows you to scroll through your cluster. The other thing that threw me was the volume. There's no plus and minus. And it's amazing how little things like that just throw you for a second. Decent glove box. Strange for a car, to be honest. Comfortable buckety seats. And fabric. I do love fabric. I presume there's some kind of recycled material. There is one downfall. There's no reach, there's just rake. But it didn't affect me in the slightest. 2-pedal system, it's got a 3-speed automatic, and it does a damn good job. It's refinement, they've done something with the insulation. It's a rather quiet car. What's that, about 2 inches? Wow. I love the addition of an armrest, and it's comfortable, and no, it's mine. You can't really get your passenger's arm on there, even though they'll try. Decent storage pot here, and this slides. So you've got another something for keys or gloss around here. It just means that you can see everything very clearly. The one thing I do miss out of the previous MG3, a proper old school handbrake. But that's how things go. You've got an auto hold button. Nice chunky stalks too. Auto dimming mirror. No grab handle on the driver's side. It'd be nice to see one of those. And you can't adjust the seatbelt height. But yet again, that didn't affect me either. On that note, let's take a look in the rear. This is remarkably easy to get in and out of. And one other thing, the sound system is absolutely banging, which, if I remember correctly, some of the MG3s didn't even have speakers in the rear. Also, before I forget, you've got a favoriting system. So you could put something like your driving modes here, and then the climate control here. If you like this type of video, why not subscribe to the channel? You just hit the button on the right hand side. It's free and you'll get an alert every time we upload. Also, if you do like the video, why not give it a like? It all helps and it means we can get more cars. Thank you. It's got such great proportions and it carries off a 5-door designation so well. No side skirts, but yet again, that gives it a clean look. Discs all round with the front vented, and they are extremely good. But with that amount of brake horsepower, they need to be. And you might have noticed over the last few years, MG now has privacy glass as standard. Let's take a look in the rear. The door opens to a nice angle, and it's a pretty good door opening. Climbing in should be child's play. Nice. Now bear in mind that this seat is at a lavish 6'3" as well, and I've still got about this much legroom. Excellent. Feet go under the seat, and if I remember correctly, this is pretty much on the floor, so that's perfect. Recess section here, and yes, this is pretty much a carbon copy of the front door. Electric window, padded area, and a decent door pocket. Ooh. So, like the front, it's a combo of faux leather and fabric, and it's comfortable. And you can tell it's markedly bigger than the previous MG3. Travelling in the back, I think this would be a rather comfortable experience. Now this is where you would miss the sunroof, especially with the dark roof and the dark interior. It would be nice to see a lighter interior available, but at this price bracket you just don't expect one. We've got a decent sized window, even though it does toe down at the rear. I'm not looking at a chunk of roof, and it's got a decent sized back window. Even with all I mentioned, it still feels relatively light and airy because you get a lot of light from the front too. Headroom, well at my height, absolutely no problem. And I'm not slouched or sat upright either, I'm just comfortable. What's that? About 1.5 inches, something like that? Vents in the centre, a USB and a storage pot. Isofix points and airbags. And a grab handle above every other door. One of Annabelle's favourites. Map pockets. The one thing that is missing is an interior light in the rear. That's pretty much the only thing you need to sort out, MG. And I think that's your lot. Let's take a look at the rear. Well, that's certainly changed. Far more flowing, far more sleek, and a heck of a lot more curvature. And these rear lenses are LED. And just look at the width here on the rear haunches. Spoiler, but weirdly, the brake light's in here. But look, a rear wiper. And I suppose it's rear diffuser styly. Parking sensors, reversing camera, it's got cross traffic alert too. Now I can pop it with the key fob or the button. Now it doesn't look like it opens very high, but if you've noticed we're on an angle, and when we were on a road trip, I did notice I can stand pretty much fully under here. Big chunky plastics. And if you've noticed, they don't creak. It's all just nice and solid. Great space. What's that, a couple of weeks worth of shopping, quite easily some suitcases in there, and tethering points, and they are anchored to the body, and they're metal, and a sport. Nice. Boot lip. I didn't expect to see that, especially on a new platform, but it doesn't really hinder things, and you've got reinforced plastic here. Interior rear light, and if we lift up the carpet, 12 volt, and an inflation kit, and some stowing areas there. Parcel shelf, little loopy ropes, perfect. Very simple to remove. Just bang it out here, it just pulls out. Now to the other elephant in the room. It's not split folding. Easy enough to drop, you just release this. No dual level floor, so you can't lift this to make a flat loading area. It's a decent space, and I'll quite easily get my electric mountain bike in there if I remove the front wheel. Top tether points, and this isn't too heavy to lift, and then it just locks in place. Let's take a look under the bonnet. But before we head there, don't forget 7 years warranty and 80,000 miles. To pop the bonnet, just hit the release here. To release the latch, push right. Whoa, that is pretty heavy. Now you can tell straight away that's a new engine. It's nice and easy to see where to top up fluids. So a fully hybrid powertrain. And I think it developed something like 270 brake. But because it uses the electric motor and the petrol engine, it then limits itself to 200 brake. But to be honest, that is ample. Who are you? Time to get behind the wheel. Welcome behind the wheel of the new MG3 Hybrid Plus. And that's a big plus. Under the bonnet we've got a 1.5 4-cylinder non-turbocharged engine coupled to an electric motor, and then a relatively small battery. That's also coupled to a 3-speed automatic box. In a word, it's an Atkinson cycle system, so used in many vehicles. But the thing that surprises me is how efficiently and I suppose powerfully it can put the power down. You just put your foot down and it's gone, and then there's a secondary boost as well. It's quick.
I love the way it transitions seamlessly between EV, hybrid, petrol, and it does it all itself. It's so clever.
I mean, primarily it will run in EV mode as much as possible, especially when you're in eco. The one thing I have noticed compared to MG3, the previous gen, is it's not as stiff, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. Because bear in mind, you've got, I think it's around 200 brake horsepower, which is a heck of a lot more than the 115 you used to have. It's comfortable for a long haul, isn't it? And you wouldn't couple that with a city car, would you?
No, but it is very comfortable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we stayed in it for about 9.5 hours, but...
In one day.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it, Annabelle? That's the kind of thing that you expect in 50, 60, 70 grand SUV.
Yeah.
But this does it exceptionally well. Economy. Even on back roads with me driving pretty damn hard, I'm getting 55 to the gallon. Get on an eco run and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw over 70. I think my top was 67, which is not like me. Nice clear cluster, and yeah, you've likely seen it out of the MG4. Everything in here works extremely well. I mean, look at reach. I can touch everything without any problem, and proper buttons. The drive itself, it's not as dynamic as the previous gen, but it still feels well balanced, and you can drive it pretty damn hard, which I like. It'll also surprise a few people. One thing they've seriously stepped up is refinement as well. In the cabin, it's far quieter than the previous gen. It's also more pleasing to the eye. It's a full markup, isn't it?
It really is.
The one thing it does lack is an EV mode on the button. But you don't really need it because it will do it as much as it can. I mean, you can hear the engine now, and it's not particularly loud. Even if you floor it, it'll be loud for a little bit, but as soon as you back off, it finds the correct gear and it quietens right down. Pulling away, it transitions nicely. It's smooth. It's a joy to drive. And even at motorway speeds, it feels well planted. No excessive noise from mirrors, tyres, anything like that. Mind you, it's got 16-inch wheels. That's quite a clever move, really. Great lights, great brakes. Mind you, it needs to do with that powertrain, but they're pretty damn solid. It can stop as well as it goes. And of course, MG Pilot. Yes, their renowned safety system. So it's got all the bells and whistles, everything from blind spot detection, AEB, mitigation systems, adaptive cruise, stop go. I mean, just have a look through the screen and you'll see for yourself. You did hear that bong, but it's not intrusive.
It's not an Agatha Christie, is it?
Not at all, no.
No.
I mean, there's far more cars out there that, well, more naggy. R129, built on Dorothy. Wouldn't be the same without seeing something like that, would it? And there you have it, a small taste of the drive-in section. If you'd like to see more, why not check out our full road trip? And you even get to see some centenary celebrations at Goodwood House with MG.
Congratulations on the centenary, and thank you, MG.
Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you soon.